Live, you are live.
Good morning and welcome on another crisp and beautiful winter's morning here in the African bush. You are on a live safari experience here on Djuma, Arathusa and Cheetah Plains Game Reserves in the Sabi Sand in the Greater Kruger National Park of South Africa. I have the coolest story to tell you about these elephants, but let us get introductions out of the way first. My name is Jamie, and this morning I have Dave on camera with me. Brent is out and about with Gerrit, also known as Carrot, because apparently the Afrikaanse G is a little bit hard to grasp. But Gerrit, who is here working as a cameraman. We also have the lovely Jerry and Lou in final control. Don't forget, we're also interactive, which means send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter, or email them through to questions@WildEarthTV. Right, now we've got all of this sort of nitty-gritty out of the way. Let me tell you the story about these elephants, because it's an absolutely marvelous one. Now, around the camps at night, so where we live, there's a thing called an elephant wire. It's not electrified, it is simply a strand of wire at around sort of 2 meters in height at places, high enough that it's sort of most people can pass underneath it without having to duck. Brent is a different story, but most people can get underneath it, but generally elephants can't get past it. However, there are gaps in it, places where the gates are, etc. And so what occasionally happens is elephants stumble in there. And that is what happened last night. So the guys sleeping at DRC were treated to the most amazing sounds throughout the evening of the ellies munching away outside their window. That was less fun in the dark at around 5:30 this morning, when Brent and myself needed to walk from where we've been staying, just sort of a little bit away from camp, kind of in the middle of the elephant wire, but on the outside of the camp. And Brent was the first to exit the room, it being after a long night. He went outside, and he was greeted to the sight of a female elephant charging him. Now, when you have an electric fence between you and the elephant, when an elephant is coming full tilt, you're suddenly aware, despite the 8,000 volts between you and the elephant, you're very aware of how small that fence is. I then came out, and she charged both of us, once again, and then we had to try and get out of the gate and to the car to get to work, and then she charged me in a separate occasion. So these poor elephants had been stuck there all night, with people coming and going, and they were absolutely terrified. Now you've got this movement in the dark. It was an interesting experience for both of us. I decided discretion was the better part of valor when all I could hear was her running through the bushes at me. So I jumped into the car before then shouting at her, because I wanted her to stop, but I also couldn't see where she was in the dark. So it was an interesting morning. The cool part was they waited until it got light before they managed to escape the elephant wire and come back out into the open air. And there's nothing we can do in that situation. We just have to find a way. The elephants have to find their way out. The most awesome part of that whole story was that the elephants, it was a small group. It was a group of it was one female and her youngsters. They'd obviously become separated from the rest of the herd. And as we came out to start the sort of the sunrise safari, as we drove out, they were sprinting across quarantine, and there was the rest of the herd. The rest of the herd spent the whole night waiting for them to come back out of the place that they were trapped in. They'd obviously been talking to each other all night. They knew exactly where to go. They ran in a straight line to be reunited with the rest of their group. Isn't that just an extraordinary story? It really is truly magical. And you could almost sense the relief on the elephant, or on the elephant's body language, as they went racing across to join the rest of the family. A wonderfully uplifting story for our morning. And of course, both Brent and I are quite happy we're in one piece as well. I mean, it was not terribly dangerous, at no point were we terrified, but it was uncomfortable, I think would be the best description. The darkness certainly makes you feel a little bit on edge and a little bit powerless in those sorts of situations, but I'm glad our ellies have been reunited with the rest of their herd. Obviously they're very far away at the moment. They've sprinted across the drainage line, and it'll probably be a while before this particular group decides to stray back into the camps. Shame. Is that better, guys? Very, very special moment from the elephants of Djuma. We get caught up in our cat stories, naturally, because we get so familiar with our characters. But there are very tight family bonds between the members of an elephant herd. We are going to carry on. We're going to encounter them at some point relatively soon, because I'm planning on doing a loop that will take me across this drainage line system and around to that side. Herbert is also out, and together Herbert and I are going to be searching for the lovely Queen of Djuma. The female leopard they call Karula, and her two little cubs. I had her tracks yesterday, but they were a bit tricky because they were from yesterday morning and they had been obliterated by the passage of vehicles moving about the area. So we're going to try and see with a fresh start, a crisp new start on this winter's morning, whether or not we can follow up on them. And it is not freezing, it's not warm, it's 10 degrees centigrade, which is 50 in Fahrenheit. So not too chilly. I've still got my hot water bottle tucked away, we're still in our layers, but not as bad as some of the mornings we've experienced. Right, let us get underway, and while we do that, and while I negotiate this terrible dip that's on the other side of me, let's go across to Brent so that he can give you his good mornings.
Welcome to a bitterly cold Djuma private game reserve. We've been tracking male lions all morning, and we've just arrived at Buffelshoek Dam, and the hippo has decided it's time to leave the water, and he's walking due east towards the rising sun. Well, the sun hasn't quite popped over the horizon yet, and you can just see his big bottom. There it is, disappearing. Now we've got tracks of 3 male lions. They've been more or less heading east. And I've just got tracks of a lioness as well. And the lions have been sleeping on the dam wall. And how I can tell that, if we look over here on the ground, there's a fresh patch of urine. Sorry. So there we go. Where's that urine patch? There's the urine patch. And that's from the lions. And you can actually see where they've been lying as well, a little bit further to the left. So around here you can see how the sand is disturbed. So we're going to try to figure out which way these lions have gone from here. There's tracks of a lioness going in the complete opposite direction, but the males seem to keep going sort of east and south. So let's just have a quick look. See if we find tracks anywhere. It's quite hard up here, so we're going to look on the road on the other side. Maybe it's a bit softer. What have we got? No sign of them here. I'm going to keep checking towards the eastern edge of our traverse area, Cheetah cut line. And if we don't get any tracks there, then I'm going to come back and work this area a little bit more. Remember, we're on a live African safari. You joining Khat and myself, or Carrot and myself, as we track lions through the African bushveld. And if you want to ask any questions, you're more than welcome to use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, or the email address questions@WildEarthTV. While we keep our eyes to the ground, scouring for the footprints of the big cats, Jamie's got a gorgeous vista to show you.
For the moment, we have our eyes on the sky and just enjoying the first moments of the sun peaking above the horizon. And I'm just listening to all of the birds that are chirping away, so let's just watch the sunrise and take in the atmosphere of the morning. Mainly the crowing of the black-headed oriole to provide the soundtrack to the sunrise this morning. Absolutely stunning. And even now, after many years of living in the bush, I still get that childlike excitement at this time of day. You don't know what the day has in store for you yet, and it always takes me back to those bright and early mornings whenever my parents took me to the Kruger National Park. We didn't often stay inside the park, so you'd get up long before dark to be there in time for the gate opening, and then you'd watch the sunrise from inside the park. And it was just one of the most exciting times when I was a child. And I think those memories have stayed with me pretty much constantly. The smell of a crisp winter's morning and the feel of it, because we always used to go in winter, always brings back a fresh burst of excitement. Beautiful. Right, let us continue onwards, because although we've got beautiful scenery to look at, we've also got beautiful things to find. And then, well, they might find us if we sit here the whole morning, but our chances are probably slightly reduced. Although it is very nice because we're getting the rays of sun, and it's terribly cozy sitting still here. Oh, that's a bright sunrise. Sure. Okay, let's go see what we can find. Plus, I want to find out what's moving on that termite mound. Been watching it, get to the point where I want to watch the sunrise, but I also want to go and see what's over there. Might just be a bird that was fluttering about. It's a kudu. It is a lovely kudu. That's what's been moving on the termite mound. And isn't she? Look, I know we're very far away, but she's truly beautiful. She is on that termite mound to the right of the tree. Here we go, Dave. Thank you. Isn't she lovely? Oh, wasn't she lovely? And off our female kudu goes. Right, Michael. Question coming through about Dave. Dave, you have rocked this the Safari Live experience for some people. Michael would like to know why Brent calls Dave the Dish. Dave?
Jamie.
Now, Michael, if I was feeling terribly cruel, I would make Dave explain it to you, but he's already got a blush creeping up his cheeks. It is because, Michael, Dave would look at home upon the runways of Milan or possibly New York, or in a cafe with a scarf delicately draped around the back of his neck. However, as I have introduced as a concept before, with his wonderful mop of beautiful curly hair that is down to his shoulders, Dave is a most handsome man. He is also a very gifted cameraman. It's a pleasure, Dave. And I refuse to objectify Dave, which is why I do not call Dave the Dish. I will call him Dazzling Dave or Daring Dave, because the name Dazzling Dave came because he recorded the first and only live zebra birth before with James. Now that is the first time that has ever been seen on a live, any kind of live show. And the collective noun of zebra is of course dazzle, so hence Dazzling Dave. So Dazzling Dave I am prepared to stoop to, but if you ever catch me calling him Dave the Dish, well, there's something wrong with me. Not that I don't think you're wonderful, Dave, but yes, exactly. So that, Michael, is the explanation behind the nickname Dave the Dish. There is an entire song about it. I refuse to learn the lyrics. Let's put it this way. Also because it's to the Gummy Bears theme tune, and I feel that's distinctly unfair to the Gummy Bears. Right, and on to different subjects entirely, moving on from Dave. Debbie, good morning and welcome as always to the Sunrise Safari. Are there any animals that hibernate during the African winter? Yes, kind of. It's not really true hibernation. It's not hibernation in the same way that you might experience in the colder climes, where things go into a state of almost dormancy, and they stay that way until the end of winter. They stock up on food supply and they move off. What happens with us, and it's mainly in the reptile family that this occurs, they go into what's known as estivation. And it's more a product of, it's a combination of temperature, but it's mainly the dryness of the area. So estivation is like hibernation but for dry. And the reptiles go into the state of dormancy, their metabolism slows down almost completely, and they essentially sleep. But on a nice hot day when the sun is shining, you could well get a snake or a tortoise or whatever it happens to be coming out and spending a little bit of time basking in the sun for that energy. So it's not a true hibernation. Some of the insects also go into a state of dormancy as well, and they can, as you know, some insects can survive for up to 17 years before they pop out. But most of that isn't really hibernation, it's in their larval form, while they're waiting to pupate and become the adults that they will be during the summer rainy months. Now that's essentially our hibernation, and it doesn't even apply to all of our reptiles. So the crocodiles can't really hibernate or estivate, but they don't eat very much. So they spend a lot of time basking. They don't expend much in the way of energy, but they generally don't consume all that much food during the winter months. So it's a different kind of approach to the animals out here. And of course, our temperatures never get all that low either. I mean, we moan about it because we're South African and it's our job to moan about the cold. It's like a national sport. But it doesn't actually get that cold here. It probably never goes much below 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 centigrade. Whilst we do moan, we are aware that there are places where people survive much colder temperatures. Right, we're going to continue on searching for many things. We're going to utilize Dave's sharp eyes to help us find things. While we do that, let's go across to Brett and find out what his update is on those lion tracks.
Now, unfortunately, tracks of one of those male lions we're following has crossed over our eastern boundary, but there are lots of lion tracks in this area. I thought we'll have a quick look at the lion cub den. And remember, if Mom's not here, we're not going to stay. Okay, so it's an ideal little spot where this Nkuma lioness has stashed her cubs. There's a nice drainage line to hide them in, and as well as some lovely thickets for them to keep hidden in. Okay, the cubs are still there. Mom is not though. So we'll have a quick look. They're in the same spot they were yesterday. And the thicket across on the other side. Now it's possible Mom has been and gone during the night. A little bit to the left. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. There's still 3 little cubs there. They're just too cute. Now, Mom will come back normally about once every 2 days to feed them. And I think she will be moving this den site in the near future. And you can see the little cub spots that lions have to help them remain hidden. So we're not going to stay any longer. We're going to leave them to hide in the thickets. And hopefully on the sunset safari, Mom will be back. Okay, sorry, I'm just listening to the game drive quickly. Okay, so we're going to leave this area now. I'm going to keep checking down Cheetah cut line. Watch heads. Hi, Michael. Welcome to the chilly Djuma private game reserve this morning. And Michael would like to know, would the lions ever try kill that hippo if the opportunity presented itself, or would they leave it alone? Definitely, Michael. So definitely as this drought gets longer and longer, and that hippo might start losing some condition and make it an easier target for the lions, so they might definitely try. Aubrey. Honey badger! Straight ahead. Okay, a little up. There. There it goes. Just hang on. Come out of it. He just ran through the bush there. I'm going to see if we can get a closer look. Okay. Okay, that honey badger was moving through there. I'm going to see if I can get another spot. There it is. Okay, I know. I'm going to move around to where I can think we can get a better view. So I can still see it just jogging through the bush. Now, they move deceptively quickly. They don't have a top high speed, but they can keep up quite an incredible jog for a very long time. Where's he gone now? Let's try to see if I can hear him. Okay, I've got rustling in the grass just down here, or in the leaf litter. Might be a little bit behind us. It's quite thick here. directly opposite us at the moment. I'm just going to check carefully. Come on, pop yourself up, Miss Tiny Badger. Let's just try forward a little bit. Okay. So it is quite difficult, these guys. They are quick as anything. Just going to check further forward a little bit, and maybe we'll loop down onto the fire break and come down slowly. But I think it's in these round leaf teak thickets somewhere. Hi, Marianne. Marianne's in Arkansas and would like to know if this is the same area as my last sighting of a honey badger. It's probably about 1.5 kilometers away from the last sighting. And I only saw one this time, not 3. Okay, what we're going to do is get onto that fire break and we're just going to scoot down. So it's foraging through these round leaf teak thickets, which could make it quite hard to spot. And hopefully it hasn't moved off too far. So I'm going to switch off the engine and freewheel. Keep checking both sides of the road. So he was in the thickets a little bit ahead around there. Just going to stay with us for a few more seconds. If we spot it, it's going to be in the next 15 or 20 seconds. Otherwise, might have done a disappearing act on us. Could have gone down a hole, could have changed direction. Just want to get past this termite mound ahead of us. Come on, over the hill. Oh dear, looks like he did a disappearing act. But as I said, this drought, we're going to start seeing more and more of these little creatures. So we're going to continue on, see what else we can find. And Jamie's got probably one of the strangest looking antelope in the world to show you.
One of the strangest looking antelope indeed, and in fact I think one that even is put upon the ugly 5 list traditionally. There's t-shirts and such on sale in the Kruger National Park with the ugly 5. Personally, I feel as though this is a most undeserved, yes, exactly. See, I'm on your side. Most undeserved reputation to hoist upon our blue wildebeest, particularly when you see them in the glistening morning sunlight. with their rippling muscles. I think they're actually quite attractive looking antelope. But that's just me. I can sort of see though where that impression comes in, since they don't look so much like antelope as they do cows. They look like an antelope crossed with a cow. And they're not. They are true antelope related to the hartebeest and the tsetse back in their evolutionary line. And an antelope designed for speed and stamina. Although they utilize that a little bit less out here, where we don't get the massive migrations of wildebeest. This is our male of the Zoe balanites region, so we see him here all the time. This is his territory that he marks regularly with middens and scent marking from his pedal glands or interdigital glands between two hooves, two halves of each hoof. That makes more sense. And the glands around his face, his preorbital glands. At the moment, though, not much territorial marking going on. The breeding season for wildebeest has passed, and if he has been successful, his time is over, and he's just got to wait until the ladies return back to him around the May-June time next year. He can concentrate on making the most of whatever grass shoots and he can find. We're in this area, by the way, and it's a nice opportunity to just stop and listen, because Herbert has found fresh lion tracks coming into this block, male lion tracks. He might be on his way to join the rest of his buddies. So that's why we've stopped for now, and it gives us a perfect opportunity and actually a really nice vantage point to enjoy the beauty of the morning and also to listen for any sounds or alarm calls that we might hear. There's something else in there, but I think, oh, it's a zebra. It's a zebra. And to try and describe it to you, if we go straight through there, you got him. Hey, well done, Dave. Straight in there, there you go, there's a zebra. I could see movement, I just couldn't quite work out exactly what it was. So there we go. Two animals in one sighting, just goes to show if you stop and look, the more you'll see. Might not be a honey badger, but it is a different black and white animal. Very common to see them together with wildebeest. They utilize the different parts of the same grass because they have different digestive systems. Although in this case they're relatively far away from our wildebeest bull. Okay. All is very quiet here. So perhaps our male lion has started to move on. Our wildebeest is enjoying the morning sunlight, so we'll take one last look at him before we move on. Peacefully snuffling away. And when you see them like this in this sort of light, you can actually see the brindled nature of their coat. And those stripes are actually stripes. You don't see them necessarily when the sun is up, but at this sort of time of day, you see them far more clearly, and they serve the same purpose that the white kudu stripes do on kudu. It's just essentially to break up the outline of the animal. I think he is handsome. I shall not be told otherwise. Just in terms of identifying males versus females, for those of you who are new to our live safari experience, and it can be a bit tricky because female wildebeest also have horns, the reach of a male wildebeest's horns extends beyond their ears. So when they look up at us and they look at you with their ears out and open, a male wildebeest, their horns will extend past the edge of their ears. Otherwise it can be a little bit tricky. They've got slightly bulkier horns, but not by much. And then of course the usual way of identifying male versus female is also apparent if you get a good view of the wildebeest. But there you can see it's not all that clear as he moves out into the open. The best way is to have a look at their faces. And the males have faces with black extending all the way to the base of the horn. And there you go to Richard in British Columbia, speaking about the brindled nature of his coat. And good morning to you. No, as I said, it's not. Those dark stripes are on all wildebeest, a bit more prominent in the males, but they're on all the wildebeest, and they serve to break up the outline of the animal, especially when it runs in a herd. It's kind of like zebra stripes. It makes it a bit more confusing for the predators, although nobody knows exactly what the reason is behind them. Now, you might also be looking at his rippling muscles. He's definitely not anywhere near starving just yet, so you don't need to worry, Richard. It's not starvation or dehydration. This is a healthy wildebeest bull for now, and he'll probably, whilst he might struggle a little bit, his incredible ruminant digestive system will mean that he makes and utilizes the nutrients in the grasses far more efficiently than things like the zebra. And they just seem to be able to stay healthier looking for longer. But all of the animals are going to start showing signs of hunger and dehydration in the future. It is going to be something we're going to witness more and more, and it is going to be rough on all of them. But for now, he is absolutely fine. Those rippling muscles, as I said, built for speed and stamina. Something's upset those go-away birds terribly in the distance. I think it might be worth going and have a look. Ah, it might be just part of their dawn chorusing, but it sounds a little bit angrier than that. Let's go and investigate, I think. Oh, got a sneeze. I've got a sneeze stuck. Sorry. Go away. Okay, there we go. It's a bit better. You know when you really need to sneeze, but you can't. It just happened. Okay, bye-bye, Wildy. Let us move onwards. Interesting sound coming from Wendy's steering as well. Wendy, of course, has been plagued by mechanical gremlins. The clutch is working perfectly now, but there's still things that are making me a little bit nervous on her. Okay, a trip to the automotive doctor, also known as Opa the mechanic, might be in order for her when we get home. Right. Onwards south down Zoe's. Let's see if we can't find something there. Herbert is, of course, hot on the trail of this male lion. He thinks this male lion's gone to sleep somewhere here in the block. I think there's a chance he might be moving to go and meet up with the rest of his crew, the rest of the Birmingham boys. They have been not split up, but they do often separate in order to maintain and patrol their territorial boundaries. So they have been separate from each other relatively regularly. It sounds like 3 of them were in Banyaleti sometime yesterday, but they're moving back south and into our area. So that's the place to the north of our Traverse area. In fact, to the north of the Sabi Sand. It is a different reserve entirely, but all open to the Kruger and surrounding areas. And Debbie, our lone male wildebeest, which, oh, by the way, is another indicator that you're looking at a male, since the females generally spend their time in small groups in this particular area. Bear in mind that the social structure of animals differs depending upon where you may be. And Debbie, yes, would he be easy pickings? Yes and no. He's on his own, so that certainly immediately means that he might be more vulnerable, just in terms of the concept that the more eyes you have, the more things you're going to spot with them kind of deal, the more eyes and ears. But he's very fit. As I said, they are fast. And generally, no, he is a target, but I wouldn't say he's an easier target. Now, you know that lions don't really have stamina, and as long as the wildebeest spots a lion soon enough, they'll be able to race away and maintain that speed. And they can run up to about, they're one of the fastest antelope out here, running at about 50 kilometers an hour, if not more so, at top speed. And they can do that for a long time period, whereas a lion, reaching bursts of 60, 70, up to 80 kilometers an hour, but for very short periods of time, especially male lions. So, yes, on his own, inevitably, he's got less chance of spotting something, but he's stronger and faster than the females in a herd might be. Not necessarily faster, stronger. But for a group of, let's say, the Nkuhumas, if the Nkuhumas came wandering through here, absolutely he would be a target for them. Just depends on the number of lionesses that you are, or lions that you are talking about, in terms of the prey that they select and go for. And speaking of lions, while we search for our male lion, let's find out what Brent is up to and how his search is going.
We continued on down the eastern edge of our traverse area. So far, no luck. Just that one set of male lion tracks leaving the area. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to head down towards the Moati River, have a quick check Twin Dams, Leadwood Road, and then if nothing, I think we'll go see what's happening in the east on Cheetah Plains. But so far, a little bit quiet. Lots of tracks everywhere, but no cats so far. Hi Tomas! Tomas is 9 years old and a new viewer, so welcome to Safari Live, Tomas. And Tomas wants to know, what are we most excited to find out here? Tomas, everything. Of course, there's quite a focus on the big cats, elephants, cheetah, lion, leopard, wild dog, honey badgers. We get quite excited to find lots of different things, even some of the birds and even some of the bugs. So that's the wonderful thing, is every day you don't know what you're gonna find, and we just want to make sure that they haven't left our area. So we've got one male lion that's left. Herbert and Jamie are following on another one, and I'm not sure where the rest went. There were three. They saw three together in Buffalo's Hook last night. We just want to check carefully. And as we get down towards the dip, it's going to get colder again in these low-lying areas like the little riverbeds. So just want to make sure Karula hasn't snuck through this area. Now, Shamsung would like to know some facts about honey badgers. Oh, we'll get back to the honey badgers. We've got a giraffe. Oh, he's crossing the southern boundary. We'll see if we can get a view of him now. Okay, it looked like a big male. Just wondered. Oh, looks like two males. There could be a little bit of pushing going on here. Oh, is it two males? It looks like it. Now, I wonder if they're going to fight. And the only time giraffe really fight properly is if there's a female and estrus close by. Other than that, they're young males, I mean adults, but still quite young. I'm just going to move back, I think we might get a better view. There we go. Beautiful golden morning light. Oh, when it the back seems to be a little bit bigger. And not a little bit, quite a bit bigger. You can see he's taller, thicker in the neck. this bigger male might just be escorting the younger male off. Unfortunately, they are moving out of our traverse zone, and I don't think that's the last view we're going to get as he disappears behind the bushes. So back to Shamsun's question about, can I tell her some facts about honey badgers? Now, they are incredibly tough little animals. Now, they have very, very loose skin, and that enables them to sort of almost defend against attacks from lions and other predators. Most animals just give them a fair distance. And they also are able to spray from their anal gland, a very foul-smelling substance, which also helps in their defense. Now, they normally live solitary lives in territories that they'll defend against other honey badgers. And the only time when you see like 3 honey badgers together, it's normally a female and her offspring. They don't live in the heaviest densities, so maybe they're around, but you never have a lot of honey badgers around unless there's a very, very ideal sort of circumstance, and they're very, very adaptable. They live from the Kalahari Desert, and I've even seen them in the depths of the Congo Basin rainforest. So they've got a very wide range of habitats that they're able to exist in. What's that there? Just says, it's a stick. Karula stick. Oh, cold in that dip. We're just going to check as far as Weaver's Nest. Hi, Carol. Carol would like to know, how big would one honey badger's territory be? Now, Carol, it completely depends on the area. That's not what we want to see. Alright, well, now we have accounted for 2 of the 3 male lions. He has crossed over our southern boundary. So I think I'm going to turn around here and start heading for Cheetah Plain and see what's happening in the east. So, Carol, it all depends. It can be anything from about 20,000 acres to 5,000, 6,000 acres. It all just depends on food availability, territory, and densities of other honey badgers. So obviously in food-rich environments like the rainforest, their territories are quite a lot smaller than out here. Now, I'm not 100% sure on the average honey badger territory for this area, but I will try find out. I should have that information with me here somewhere. Oh, cold again through the dip. Come, sun, warm me up. Okay. That. Oh, cold. Let me just call in those line tracks. Ngonzo for 1, Wanunangala, cross south at Twin Dams junction with Gowrie Main. I'm going to head east towards CP and Dow. But I'm going to have to. Here we go. Here it is. Here's some more information. No, we don't want physical diet range. No, that's, I know that. Oh, I didn't know that. There's a bit of really interesting information. As I said, they're incredibly adaptable creatures, and they've been recorded at 4,000 meters above sea level in Ethiopia's Bale Mountain National Park. And outside of Africa, they occur through Arabia, Iran, and into Western Asia, to Turkmenistan and the Indian Peninsula. I did not know they weren't that far, but there you go. That's a bit of interesting information there. I'll have to read a bit more carefully just now to find out what the exact home ranges are in this area. There we go. And they're quite long-lived creatures. I'll read a bit more just now when I have a chance. They can live for about 20 to 24 years in the wild. But Carrot and I are going to head towards Cheetah Plains, so while we do that, let's go see what Jamie's up to.
Poor old Carrot. I wonder if he knows that they're at Wild Earth.
Oh, it seems like Jamie's found a black hole on Djuma, but hopefully she'll be back shortly. So you're back with me. We've now left Djuma, and we have Torchwood to the right and Torchwood to the left and Cheetah to the right. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard that update that Thandi, Shadow's sister and part of Karula's first litter, has had a single cub, and it is living under the Cheetah room deck, which is not too far from here. So we might see Thandi out hunting in this area as we make our way towards Cheetah Plains. You can see there's the next big river system here after the Mulwati, called the Mulwanini. And it is a spot where I have a black hole in signal, but fortunately Jamie is back, so while I go down the hill, let's jump back on board with Jamie.
Dearie me, we're playing a game of dodge the signal black hole areas while we drive along. Sorry about that, everybody. I don't know why we disappeared off your screens, but we're back once again, and on Weaver's Nest Road, one of Karula's favourite. Could we call it a haunt? I suppose we could call it a haunt. She's here so often. Let us check carefully and make sure that she hasn't been around. I will say I don't think so. Well, I mean, it's possible, but there's so many hyena tracks up and down this road. And just on the subject of our lovely hyenas, I've checked every den site now, both on and off air, and it really does seem as though our hyena have moved off the property. I don't know where they've gone. They still come around during the evenings. They're obviously still moving through Djuma, but we don't know where their den site is. We've checked all of the regularly used ones, and they appear to have disappeared. So there you go. That is for I Walk in the Rain, and for many others. I know that you all enjoy a good hyena sighting as much as I do, and unfortunately it's just one of those things. I think we're just going to have to wait until they decide to return back to us. They have moved away for now. They'll be back, never fear, they will be back, but we're just going to have to wait and probably just have chance hyena sightings around the place, because I can't figure out exactly where that den site's gone. I've checked everyone that they regularly use, and there's no sign of them. And the truth is that they've been seen a lot around the Simbambili area and around Buffelshoek Gowrie Gate side, so they must be denning somewhere there. It's a pity, but just one of those things. We're constantly on the lookout, and never fear, we will keep checking to make sure that we haven't missed them, or that they haven't returned once again to our shores, if we could call it that. Okie dokie. No sign of Karula in this area. We're going to keep checking around Treehouse Dam. Herbert's on the male lion tracks. Actually, speaking of Herbert, I do just want to chat. Whoops. Wait for my opportunity to chat to Herbert on the Game Drive comms. The guys are busy following up on lions outside of our Traverse area, but I still think there's a male somewhere in here. Oh, I'm continuing my streak from yesterday afternoon. Yesterday afternoon was waterbuck day, and it appears that this morning is no different as we come upon the shaggiest of all antelope. Oh, and one identity confused impala as well. Hello guys. A couple of impala, alright, so he's not as confused as we thought. Gives us a really nice comparison of the size difference between an impala, full-grown impala ram, and a waterbuck cow. A waterbuck being one of the largest antelope that you're likely to see out here in terms of weight. Very upset, Franklin. But that could be from anything. What's up there, waterbuck? Is there anything we should know about? Little one is relatively relaxed. Lots of waterbuck calves around. They are definitely so cute. I think this is the same group from yesterday that we saw up towards Philemon's cut line. The cisticulars are also calling off towards Treehouse Dam. Let's go and investigate. There's no other alarm calls. The squirrels aren't calling. The antelope seem to be relatively relaxed, but let's just go and investigate nonetheless. Might be a bird of prey or a snake or something similar. Although a snake is unlikely at this time of morning. It's chilly. It's a little bit too chilly for our snakes, our ectothermic snakes, to be wandering about. Hello, waterbuck. Can I come through? Looking very pretty in the morning sunlight. Just stopping to listen to the various sounds of the bush. It's one of the best way of finding things is just to keep your ears open. Tock, 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 tock. Franklin's not happy. But the antelope clearly completely relaxed. Very often it's worth taking one's cues from the animals around us. They seem content and relatively relaxed. Chances are is not much around them to be worrying about. That being said, never take that for granted, because once an animal like a waterbuck or an impala or wildebeest, as soon as they've seen the predator and they've made sure that the predator isn't showing signs of predatory behavior, in other words stalking or moving towards them, once they've alerted everything in the vicinity, then they're actually often quite content to feed around sleeping lions, for example, because they know that those animals aren't of any threat. They know that as long as they can keep an eye on them and watch them, they don't need to be concerned about being hunted. So it's not uncommon to see antelope in a close proximity to one of the predators. Orange-breasted bushshrike. Gary, while we watch our waterbuck disappear behind the trees, you've asked a very salient question. What is best for camouflage? Is it spots, stripes, or plain colour, or is it this amazing beanie that I have upon my head? Well, we know it's not the beanie. Definitely not that. That wasn't part of Gary's original question. To me, it's a toss-up between spots and stripes. Out here, the hardest animal to see is a spotted animal. The leopards of the region, it's incredibly tricky to see them out here. And especially in this sort of dryness, they disappear totally. There could be a leopard hiding behind the bush right in front of us, and they really are tremendously tough to see. And I'm sure the cameraman can attest to that at times. Leopards, we go, oh look, there's a leopard, and they look at us and go, where? Or vice versa, actually, it works both ways. Stripes also, I mean, I'm thinking of tigers, but it's not the same environment, is it, that we live in? We're in this sort of bush woodland, and even lion cubs have spots when they are first born to help to hide them away. Now, my answer to that would be spots is the best, and the animal, like a leopard, is the one that relies most upon its camouflage, and the fact that it has evolved to have spots, I think, speaks volumes. Cheetah as well, serval, all of these cryptically coloured animals are most definitely the way to go. The stripes and the plain colours, it's not necessarily just about camouflage, it's more about breaking up the outline and causing confusion. This little waterbuck, I don't know if you've spotted it yet, but he's just started to grow his little horns. Two little spikes sticking out of the top of his head, so we've got a little waterbuck bull. And I always wonder when they grow their horns, it must itch. It must feel very funny when those bones first start breaking through the skin, because of course they're not born with them. It must be a very strange feeling when they come through. Kind of like kids growing teeth, I imagine. That's how I imagine it in my very human way. Oh, starling. Photobombed by a great blue-eared starling. And gone. Such a beautiful bird. I wonder if the horns get growing pains. I don't know, these strange questions that come into one's head when you watch antelope growing up. They also grow incredibly quickly. This little waterbuck bull is probably 4 or 5 months old. Funny you should mention that, Jonathan, while we're sitting here, because I'm actually smelling waterbuck while we sit here. Now, Jonathan said we often mention sight and sound when we are out tracking. How often do we utilize smell? Not as often as we use sight or smell, but we do use it. You know, when you drive past and you're looking at fresh leopard tracks and all of a sudden you smell the smell of leopard urine, which to everybody else in the world smells like buttered popcorn, and to me just smells like urine. So I don't quite know where they get that from, but it's clearly a fault with me because everybody else can smell it. Wild dogs leave a very distinctive smell, but if they've crisscrossed through an area with our piddly sense of smell in the way that we interpret the world, we can't really identify where they've been. If they've been through an area regularly, it becomes very difficult. Elephants leave behind a distinctive scent, and often if you're downwind of them and you smell, it also changes the way that we approach animals. If I smell an elephant bull that's in must, even if I haven't seen him yet, I will usually be on alert for that possibility. But I think that despite giving up, you know, and that's why we don't have such marvelous senses of smell or hearing, is because we have evolved and the parts of our brain that might have been dedicated to those sorts of things have been switched over to interpreting other things as part of our natural intelligence, if we want to call it that. But I still think that we have residual atavistic instincts that remain with us, because I've been walking before and I don't know whether it's a sense of hearing or a sense of smell, but something has made me turn round and see an animal. And it isn't sight, and it isn't something that I've consciously heard. I think that we do have residual senses somewhere in the back of our brains. It's not a sixth sense. I don't believe that it's a sixth sense, but I promise you it's happened to me on more than one occasion. The clearest one that jumps into my mind is when Sindile was stalking me when he was still a cub. Something, and I didn't register hearing anything, something made me turn around. That feel of being watched, but obviously there was some kind of sensory input that made me turn around and look behind me. And there he was, peering at me from behind the bushes, on his way to play stalking me. It was no threat, just to clarify. This is a leopard, by the way, but it was little. He was playing. He's playing and learning, and we watched him go on to stalk a waterbuck and a buffalo, neither of which would be within the realms of possibility in terms of his hunting capabilities at that stage, nor was I at that point. But there is something that we still have. And as we move on, our waterbuck looking particularly fluffy at the moment in the cold winter's air. But Elaine, yes, they will lose a sort of an underlayer in the summer months, just as all antelope do. They have their winter coat and their summer coat. It's not as clear to us as it might be for, you know, the easiest example being something like a bear or an Arctic fox that obviously has a totally different winter coat. Now, our animals don't go to that extreme, but they definitely do grow a thicker coat underneath their sort of summer layering when winter comes, and they do lose that when summer returns. So yes, absolutely, there is a difference there in winter and summer months. Waterbuck always remain fluffy though. Don't get me wrong, they will always have a certain covering to them. Just an odd-shaped termite mound. Dave, straight in front of us. You see it? Is that just? It is just an odd-shaped termite mound, isn't it? In the sun. Oh, I was hoping for a surprise reveal of a leopard, but that's just a termite mound. Oh well. It looks very different through my eyes. Let's just clarify. I don't quite have the zoom capabilities that Dave's camera does. And in the bright sunlight, it looked like it could have been a male leopard surveying the area, even as a tail, from my perspective. Dave's giggling quietly. Did look like a leopard, Dave. And of course, we did have a wonderful sighting yesterday of Mvula, the male leopard in this area, or, well, I don't know if we'd describe it in this area. Yeah, thanks very much, Termite Mound. I appreciate that. I'll remember that next time. Obviously not a leopard. It's a bit embarrassing. Anyway, we had a marvelous sighting yesterday of Mvula mating with Shaluva. He then, according to yours, had a showdown with the male leopard known as Djuma. Since he was making a great deal of noise, as mating leopards do, and Shamsun and many others are wondering if we have an update on Mvula. Last we heard he was back with Shaluva, mating on the Hardekwil Dam wall. Sorry guys, hold off on that story for one moment. Good morning. Morning. How's it, guys?
How you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good.
Hi guys. Bye guys. Anyway, moving on. There's a leopard termite mound over there. Mvula seems to be fine. He did get quite a solid kicking, I think, from Djuma, the male leopard, from what yours has told us. The leopard fights tend to be very fast, very scary looking, and then they're over. And for the most part, unless it is a really serious altercation, for the most part, one gives in quickly and that's it. The injuries are not too severe. Mvula seems to be fine, and as I said, he's back with Shaluva mating. I suspect he's back with Shaluva mating because she didn't give him a choice. I think he ran off, hoping that she wouldn't now return to him and rejoin him, and of course that's exactly what she did, because a female leopard in estrus or in heat is a force to be reckoned with. They are not easily deterred. And we've seen it before with Karula and Tingana, where they got chased by the lions, only for Karula to find poor Tingana once again. I think Shaluva probably found him, and that's sort of how it works. The females stay with the male, they follow the males until they are out of estrus. We don't have any further updates as of this morning, so nothing more that we know. Mvula is getting older and he is starting to disperse. We've seen it in terms of his territorial movements. It's lovely that he is mating with Shaluva. I think the opportunity presented itself and he took it. It is dangerous for him though. And we don't know what happened during the night. We could hear one of the leopards, and it's probably not Mvula. When we went to bed last night, we could hear one of them rasping in the direction of Hardekwil camp, which is in Buffelshoek. And I don't know who it was. It could have been Tingana, it could have been Djuma, it might have been Mvula. It's unlikely. The conclusion that we've all drawn is that it would be a bit silly of him to broadcast his whereabouts even more clearly than he had in the mating with Shaluva. I honestly think he would have preferred to move away, and I think that she just kept hounding him, and of course he can't compete with that instinct to mate. no updates, but we'll keep you updated when we do find stuff out. I know that the guys have been driving around double checking that area. One thing I will say is that there's no sign of them returning back south towards Djuma. Okie dokie. We have checked pretty much everywhere. No sign of our lion or our mysterious Queen of Djuma. We're going to stretch our search further afield. That's just hyena. We're going to look further afield while we do. Brent has made it to Cheetah Plains. Let us find out what is happening there.
It's still very cold, and we're actually checking the southwestern areas of Cheetah Plains at the moment. An area we don't look at too often, but I am hoping for something spectacular. And as we check through here, driving due east into the rising sun, trying to warm our bodies, but so far, no tracks yet. Hi, Anna Marie. Oh, not a cheetah that Anna Marie was looking for. She was hoping for some cat-a-day luck, but we've got some elephants. It's a particularly thick part of the world here. Now, the last time I saw Mr. Quarantine was down behind these elephants in the drainage line. It's one of the reasons I'm checking around here. Sounds like there's some more elephants on the road in a bit of a better position up ahead. Sounds like quite a big herd stretching. I can see from there. There's some more in front of us here. Now you got to be a little bit more careful with the elephants on Cheetah Plains, because sometimes they could have come in from the Kruger and they're not used to vehicles, although judging from the behavior here, these guys look fine. Although as you heard, Jamie and I had an interesting start to the morning with elephants. There we go. Hello, little one. Feeding off a little red bush willow there. Now, it's still young enough that it will be suckling a little bit, but most of its sustenance will be relied on from plant matter. Probably just over 2.5 years old. Moving into the thickets, there's another ellie to the other side of us. Let's just try. That looks like it'll be a better view. A young female. Have a look if we can get a gap. Hello, madam. Giving us a little sniff. Now, also eating a bush willow, but a different type. That is a variable bush willow. Combretum calinum for the tree buffs out there. See how she's spinning that branch in her mouth and removing the bark, and more particularly the cambium layer. Now that is the part of the bark that transports water and nutrients from the roots to the rest of the tree. We can hear the trees disappearing all around us as the ellies push them down, break them up. Looks like she's nearly got to the end of that branch. And now she's gone, look at that, for the leaves on one of the smaller branches. She's using her feet to stand on the branch so she can break it. There, oh, no, not quite success yet. Here we go. But she's not after the leaves again, she's after the bark. And just watch how she twists it. No, not too much to eat on that one. Discarded. Now, Steph was showing you what an elephant does on bushwalk a few days ago. And now you see an elephant doing it live. Yum, yum, yum. If you're an elephant, if you're a human being, I wouldn't really recommend the eating of Combretum calinum. Pretty bitter and full of tannin. And of course, human beings are not very well developed when it comes to digesting cellulose. Oh, and off she goes. And she's going to join the rest of the herd that have moved into the river system behind us. And we're going to keep heading towards that 3 in a row pan. See if there's anything happening around the waterhole. It is an absolutely gorgeous morning. Oh, just listening to the radio for a second. Ah, yeah. Yeah. No, that's updates up north. Guys are still tracking those lions. There's a woodpecker. I just heard the pounding. You see him there? Oh, I can't really point with my gloves on. Look at that. So let's see how good our birders are. Who can tell me what species of woodpecker that is pecking on that dead knobthorn tree? If you know the answer, questions at WildEarthTV or hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. What species of woodpecker is that? Well, if the big cats aren't around, I think we could definitely do a little birding session down here on Cheetah Plains this morning. And now, if you want to earn extra points, is that a male or female? It always astounds me how they're able to bang on the wood like that and not get a headache. Of course, they've got a very specially adapted shock absorber system at the end of their beak, so their brain isn't pounded into oblivion. Oh, listen to how loud that is. Now, depending on the area, this particular woodpecker species, a pair will hold a territory of anything from 100 hectares to about 600 hectares. As I said, depending on the area. They're in this area probably on the larger side. Their two favoured type of woodlands are Brachystegia woodland, or Miombo woodland is another name for it. And oh, look at that, upside down. Oh, got one. Oh, what's he got there? Don't hide behind the branch. Oh, off went. But we've got something nice and nice to eat there. So I was saying their favourite type of woodland is Brachystegia or Miombo woodland and Mapani woodland. Well done, Siberia and Michael. It is indeed a female bearded woodpecker. The males have a nice little red spot on their heads. So there we go. As you can see, the sun is a bit difficult today. There we go, you can see the male's got that red crest. It sounds like quite a nice bird party on here. I can hear a grey-headed bushshrike. You should be able to hear that. Sometimes referred to in Afrikaans as a spookvoël, a ghost bird. Early misty mornings in the forested areas closer to the mountains, they call incessantly like a ghost in the mist. A bit far off the road. Well, we'll see. I think let's go see what birds we can find. And often when I go looking for birds, the big cats just seem to pop out. Jamie would like to play the music game with animals. So what type of music would the animal look at or listen to? Now, Jamie's probably a lot better at this game than I am, but for a woodpecker, he would definitely listen to heavy metal. He's a headbanger. Guns N' Roses, Black Sabbath maybe. Okay, so we're going to keep checking around here for anything we might be able to find. While we do that, let's go to Jamie, who's got another type of feathered friend.
We do indeed, and since it has been a relatively quiet Catterday this morning, by the way, my lion has crossed out of the property and onto Cheetah, we are reintroducing the music game to get all of your brains working first thing in the morning, or for some of you, very late at night. So, our guinea fowl in front of us. And Brent, I think, was quite right about our head-banging woodpecker. What on earth would a guinea fowl listen to if animals listened to music? Oof, I am struggling with this one. Dave, any suggestions?
I think something folky.
Something hokey?
Folky.
Perhaps. What about country music? Maybe a little bit of country music for our guinea fowl first thing in the morning. We need all of your help to play this game because last time we played it, we had the best suggestions coming through from the viewers. One of my favorites was The Wildebeest and the Lion Sleeps Tonight being their favorite song. What did that sound? That's the sort of standard guinea fowl. Is there a song about forgetting? About being forgetful? Because I always feel as though guinea fowl have incredibly short-term memories. The reason I say that is because we sat in this area, right actually where we're sitting right now, with Tingana and a group of foraging guinea fowl doing exactly what they're doing now. And what they would do is they'd walk up to him, they'd see him and go, da, 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 and give their alarm call, and then immediately start feeding again. And they were circling him the entire time, and every now and again one of them would look up and go, ah, leopard, and then get distracted by the seeds and go on back to feeding. It was hilarious to watch. I was a bit concerned at one point for their safety, but Tingana didn't seem at all bothered by their presence. And perhaps if there were a song about memory loss, that might be the way forward with our guinea fowl. But I think Dave's right. Perhaps a little bit of country western would be the guinea fowl's style as they pluck away at the seeds. What do you think, guinea fowl? Nope? Okay. And of course we're all accompanied at the moment to the soundtrack of the work being done to improve the dam wall at the Voyatella Dam. So if you're hearing heavy machinery, that's not the standard soundtrack of the African bush in the morning. It is something for us to listen to. I've spied a plant. A fascinating plant. Let's go forward a little bit. I learned this on my job interview. And it was one of those moments. You can imagine how nervous one gets doing a Wild Earth job interview. You've got to be on camera and everything. Dave, sticking up there, I know this is going to be really fun for me to describe to you. At the base of that fallen log, at the base of it, where the root system was, if we go in there, okay, a little bit to the right, there we go. It's sort of almost in the middle of your frame now. It stands out bright yellow. There we go, right in the middle of your frame. That plant is called a narrow-leaved kalanchoe. And the story behind the narrow-leaved kalanchoe was when I arrived on my job interview. That afternoon I went on the back of the vehicle with Brent and Andrew, who was on camera. And Brent promptly quizzed me on what particular plant this was. Narrow-leaved kalanchoe. I had absolutely no idea. I'd never seen this plant before. It's one of the few wintering flowering plants out here. Those are the flowers at the top of your screen there. If you have a look a little bit further up, those are the flowers of the narrow-leaved kalanchoe. I later found out, after Brent told me and taught me all about the narrow-leaved kalanchoe, not that there is much to know about it, apart from it being one of the few winter flowering plants that we see on Djuma. I later found out he'd only found that out that morning, and it was one of the he had to go and look it up before he realized what it was. He did a marvelous job of explaining it as though he'd known it all his life, but it was in fact something he had just learned on the drive, because Andrew had zoomed in on it while they were at a flat cat sighting when the lions were flat, and he found himself caught out not knowing what it was. So that is a narrow-leaved kalanchoe, and there's quite a few of them around and about. It's one of those names that will stick with me for the rest of my life. I will never ever forget what that plant is called. I would jump out and maybe I should, actually. I think Miss Lynn is absolutely right that the guinea fowl might perhaps... Sorry everybody, I'm going to remove my hot water bottle from inside my jacket. Miss Lynn, the guinea fowl would listen to the chicken dance. Absolutely. Something similar along those lines, I think. All of those ridiculous YouTube songs, those YouTube ridiculous things that go positively viral over the years. That is what I imagine guinea fowl listen to. I feel as though they know all of the words to all of those ridiculously viral things. It's going to bring you back some flour. And part of the flour, it's now the seed pod of the kalanchoe. It's unfortunately died due to elephant activity, although the elephants don't tend to eat it. But there you go. This is what the seed pods of a narrow-leaved kalanchoe look like. They're now dead, very sadly. But it is a beautiful, it takes on an almost reddish colour when it does start to flower. And you'll see them more and more as we continue on into winter. Okay, just a quick instruction since we're out and about. And because all of our animals appear to be, for now, trying to escape Dave and myself, and moving off and away from our boundary. So the tracks that Brent found of the lion crossing out and south, that was our lion that we've been tracking all morning. He did a big loop and then went in the opposite direction and went back south again. Jerry says she is devastated that I didn't do the chicken dance whilst out the vehicle. I'm not. I'm quite happy with that decision. Perhaps we could talk Dave into it, but I doubt it. No, I didn't think so. I think both Dave and myself will probably not be doing a rendition of the chicken dance for everybody. We have not quite reached that point just yet, but you never know, Jerry. I don't know. All of life is about negotiation. So it depends. It depends what Jerry's willing to offer in return. Jerry, of course, baked us apple pies yesterday. I never got to eat mine. Well, I haven't yet got to eat mine, although Jerry very kindly wrapped it in cling film for me and left it in the kitchen with my name on it. So that will be awaiting me when I return back to camp. Jerry says she'll make us our own apple pies. I haven't tasted your apple pie yet, Jerry, so I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't... That's negotiating without knowing whether or not it's worth it. I'm sure it's very good. Her cheesecake is marvelous. Sorry, I've got to zip up my hot water bottle. Otherwise my brain stops working because it freezes. My core temperature drops. So to get you started on the idea of the music game, I think that when we first started playing it, the conclusion that we came to for Hyena was that they listened to a South African group known as Die Antwoord. Please do not look up Die Antwoord if you are offended by any kind of bad language, but if you are prepared to tolerate that, you might want to have a look, and then you'll get an idea as to why it is that we decided that Die Antwoord, in other words the answer, is the ideal listening choice of a hyena having a time just to sit back and listen to music. I feel as though the elephants Brent was with, oof, that was shocking English, the elephants that Brent was with might be listening, if for breeding herds, I feel as though they listen to classical music. The females especially, a little bit of Beethoven first thing in the morning, maybe some Haydn to start off their day. The bulls, the big males, I feel might be Sinatra, or maybe a little bit of jazz, maybe a bit of Lou Reed along the way, and so on and so forth. I would actually really have liked to go across the dam wall, but unfortunately we've got to go round at this point, just because things are happening there, and it is closed for now, so we can't go driving across there. We'll have to loop around quarantine. Hey, here's a good one. What would a Birchall starling listen to? With its incandescent